The shrimp cocktail sat untouched on my plate as Vanessa's voice carried across the country club terrace. I'm Arlene Whitmore, 50 years old, and I've learned to recognize danger in my sister's tone. Today, it had that particular edge, sharp enough to cut glass, sweet enough to fool strangers. Oliver's put on weight again, she announced, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. My 12-year-old son froze mid-bite, his face turning the color of overripe tomatoes. I felt my fingers tighten around my water glass. My husband Leo reached under the table and squeezed my knee, a silent reminder to stay calm. Vanessa continued, oblivious or perhaps deliberately cruel. Honestly, Arlene, you really should monitor what he eats. He looks like a little pig. The word hung in the air like poison gas. Oliver's eyes dropped to his plate. Around us, conversations dimmed as people pretended not to listen while hanging on every word. Vanessa smiled that practiced smile, the one she'd perfected through years of society lunches and charity galas. I swallowed my anger, keeping my voice steady. He's perfectly healthy, Vanessa. She waved a manicured hand dismissively. Of course you'd say that. Growing up, Vanessa was always the golden child. Mom paraded her around like a trophy, beauty pageants, modeling gigs, country club memberships before she turned 16. I was the bookish one, the practical daughter, who helped Dad with his accounting firm after school. Dad died when I was 23. Heart attack, sudden and brutal. Vanessa was in Milan doing a photo shoot. She didn't make it back for the funeral. Mom never forgave me for that somehow, as if I'd personally arranged the timing. After Dad passed, I took over his small firm. Vanessa married into money. Twice. Her first husband, Sterling, owned hotels across the East Coast. When that marriage collapsed after 4 years, she walked away with enough money to live comfortably forever. But comfortable wasn't enough for Vanessa. Her second marriage, to Preston Blackwell, catapulted her into genuine wealth. Preston owned commercial real estate, the kind that generates money while you sleep. Vanessa became the queen of our town's social scene, hosting galas and sitting on charity boards. I met Leo at a tax seminar. He was quiet, thoughtful, working as a financial analyst. We built our life slowly, carefully. No drama, no headlines. Just steady growth and genuine happiness. The yacht incident happened exactly 1 week after that country club lunch. Vanessa had invited us to Preston's 55th birthday celebration aboard their new yacht, a gleaming monster called Prestige that probably cost more than most people's houses. Oliver didn't want to go. Mom, she's mean to me, he'd said that morning, his voice small and hurt. I'd convinced him with promises that we'd leave early, that it would be fine, that Vanessa wouldn't cause a scene at her own husband's party. I was wrong. The yacht was packed with Vanessa's usual crowd, women in designer dresses, men in expensive casual wear, everyone holding champagne flutes and laughing too loudly. Leo and I found a quiet corner near the railing. Oliver explored the upper deck with Preston's nephew, a nice kid named Felix. For 2 hours, everything seemed fine. Vanessa played the perfect hostess, air-kissing guests and posing for photos. Preston gave a speech about gratitude and success. The sun sparkled off the water. Then I heard shouting from the upper deck. My mother's instinct kicked in before my brain processed the words. I was already moving when I heard Oliver scream. The scene burned itself into my memory like a brand. Vanessa stood near the upper deck railing, her face twisted with rage. Oliver was soaking wet, tears streaming down his face, his nice shirt clinging to his body. Felix stood frozen in shock. What happened? I demanded, reaching Oliver and pulling him close. Vanessa's voice dripped with contempt. Your pig of a son knocked my Hermes bag into the water. Do you know how much that cost? Oliver sobbed against my chest. It was an accident. I was just trying to take a picture and I bumped the table. Accident. Vanessa shrieked. That bag is worth $12,000. Leo appeared beside us, his jaw clenched. Did you push him? The crowd had gone silent. All eyes locked on Vanessa, waiting for her answer. She lifted her chin defiantly. He needed to learn consequences. Maybe a little shock will teach him to watch where he's going. Preston stepped forward, his face pale. Vanessa, please, let's just calm down. She whirled on him. Don't you dare take their side. That little brat destroyed my property. My hands shook as I held Oliver. Leo's voice came out cold and flat. We're leaving. Now. We left immediately, Oliver wrapped in someone's borrowed jacket, shivering despite the warm evening. The ride home was silent except for Oliver's occasional sniffles. Leo's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. That night, after Oliver finally fell asleep, Leo and I sat in our kitchen. We should press charges, he said quietly. I stared at my coffee. She's my sister. She assaulted our son. His voice was steel. She pushed a child off a yacht deck into the water. He could have been seriously hurt. He was right. The upper deck was at least 8 feet above the water. Oliver could have hit his head, could have panicked and drowned, could have been crushed against the yacht's hull. The fact that he escaped with only bruises and psychological trauma was pure luck. I called Mom the next morning. She answered on the 4th ring. Arlene, I heard about the incident. Incident. My voice rose. Mom, she pushed Oliver into the water. Mom sighed, that particular sound that meant she was about to defend Vanessa. He damaged her property, dear. Vanessa's upset. You know how she is about her things. He's 12 years old. Perhaps if you disciplined him properly. I hung up. My hands were shaking. What nobody in Vanessa's social circle knew, what even Mom didn't fully understand, was that Leo and I had built something extraordinary. Not flashy, not public, but real. After taking over Dad's accounting firm, I'd noticed patterns in client investments. I started studying market trends obsessively, reading everything I could about wealth management. Leo and I combined our knowledge, made careful decisions, took calculated risks. We bought our first property when I was 28, a rundown apartment building in a neighborhood everyone said was hopeless. We renovated it ourselves on weekends. 5 years later, that neighborhood gentrified. We sold for triple what we'd paid. We repeated the process. Again and again. Quietly purchasing undervalued properties, improving them, watching markets shift in our favor. We never bragged, never showed off. Our house was nice but modest. Our cars were practical. Oliver attended public school. By the time I turned 45, our portfolio was worth $30 million. By 50, it had grown to $62 million. We lived off Leo's analyst salary and my accounting firm income, letting our investments compound. Vanessa had no idea. Nobody did. That's how we wanted it. 2 days after the yacht incident, Vanessa called. No apology, no acknowledgement of what she'd done. Just that breezy, entitled tone that made my teeth ache. Arlene, I need you to do something for me. Preston's accountant quit. Some ridiculous dispute about ethics or whatever. I told Preston you could handle his taxes this year. Your family, after all. I gripped the phone harder. Vanessa, we need to talk about what happened to Oliver. Oh, that. She laughed, actually laughed. He's fine, isn't he? Don't be so dramatic. Boys his age bounce back from everything. Now, about Preston's taxes. No. Silence. Then, excuse me. I said no. I won't be doing Preston's taxes. Her voice turned icy. You're seriously going to hold a grudge over a silly accident? You pushed my son off a yacht and called him a pig. I barely touched him. He's just clumsy and oversensitive. Honestly, Arlene, you're raising him to be weak. I took a deep breath. Goodbye, Vanessa. Wait, you can't just. I hung up. My heart pounded like I'd run a marathon. Leo, who'd been listening from the doorway, smiled. Proud of you. Life settled into an uncomfortable new normal. Oliver started seeing a therapist, A kind woman named Dr. Helena Morrison who specialized in childhood trauma. She helped him process what happened, taught him that Vanessa's cruelty wasn't his fault. Mom called weekly, each conversation a variation of the same theme. I was being unreasonable, Vanessa was under stress, family should forgive family. I let her talk, said little, hung up feeling exhausted. Leo and I discussed our options legally. Our lawyer, Patricia Vaughn, reviewed the situation carefully. You have a case, she said. Witnesses saw her push him. The yacht security cameras probably caught it. But litigation against family is messy. We decided to wait. Not out of mercy for Vanessa, but because we wanted Oliver to heal before dragging him through legal proceedings. Meanwhile, I made a decision. I updated our will, removing Vanessa as Oliver's guardian and trustee. If anything happened to Leo and me, Vanessa would get nothing. Preston called once, apologetic and uncomfortable. I'm sorry about what happened. Vanessa's been under pressure lately. I thanked him for calling and ended the conversation quickly. He seemed like a decent man trapped in Vanessa's orbit. 3 months passed. Oliver slowly returned to his normal self, though he refused to attend any family events where Vanessa might appear. I supported that decision completely. Then came Thanksgiving. Mom insisted on hosting, begged me to attend, promised Vanessa would be on her best behavior. Against my better judgment, I agreed, but only for Mom's sake. Leo and I decided Oliver would stay home with Leo's parents. Vanessa arrived late, sweeping in with Preston trailing behind her. She wore a dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent and diamonds that caught the light with every gesture. She kissed Mom's cheek, nodded coldly at Leo and me, and settled into the seat farthest from us. Dinner was tense. Forced conversation, long silences, the clink of silverware too loud in the quiet. Mom tried desperately to keep things pleasant, asking about Preston's business and my accounting firm. Vanessa picked at her food, looking bored. Then, over dessert, she couldn't help herself. Where's the little porker? Too embarrassed to show his face. The room froze. Mom gasped. Preston closed his eyes. Leo's fork clattered to his plate. I stood up slowly, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. We're leaving. Mom reached for my hand. Arlene, please, she didn't mean. Yes, she did. I looked at Vanessa, really looked at her. Behind the designer clothes and professional makeup, I saw something desperate and hollow. You know what's sad, Vanessa? You're so empty inside that the only way you can feel important is by making others feel small. Vanessa's face flushed. How dare you? We're done. Don't call me. Don't contact Oliver. Stay out of our lives. Leo and I left. Mom followed us to the door, crying, begging us to stay. I hugged her gently. I love you, Mom. But I love my son more. And I won't subject him to her anymore. In the car, Leo reached over and took my hand. That was hard. Yeah. My voice cracked. But necessary. We drove home in silence, and I felt something shift inside me. Not quite peace, but the beginning of it. A sense that I'd finally chosen the right side, Oliver's side, our family's side. That night, I slept better than I had in months. Winter arrived, cold and grey. The holidays passed without Vanessa's presence, and our home felt lighter somehow. Oliver laughed more, relaxed more. Leo and I focused on our investments, quietly acquiring 2 more properties in emerging neighborhoods. In February, Mom called with news. Vanessa and Preston are getting divorced. I felt oddly nothing. No satisfaction, no sadness. Just a distant sense of inevitability. I'm sorry to hear that. Preston's lawyer discovered she's been hiding money. Secret accounts, luxury purchases she never told him about. He's furious. Mom's voice dropped. She might lose everything in the settlement. The prenup was ironclad. Part of me wanted to feel vindicated, but mostly I just felt tired. That's between them, Mom. She might need help, Arlene. Financial help. There it was. The real reason for the call. I took a breath. No. But she's your sister. Who pushed my 12-year-old son into the water and called him a pig. Who's never apologized. Who, even at Thanksgiving, couldn't stop herself from being cruel. My voice stayed steady. I hope she figures things out, Mom. But I won't be funding her lifestyle. Mom hung up without saying goodbye. The divorce dragged on through spring. Mom kept me updated despite my requests not to hear about it. Preston's lawyers were thorough, uncovering years of Vanessa's secret spending. Designer clothes she'd hidden, jewelry she'd bought with joint accounts, a condo she'd purchased under a friend's name. The prenuptial agreement Preston had insisted on was brutal. Vanessa would leave the marriage with exactly what she'd brought into it. The remainder of her first divorce settlement, which she'd already spent most of, and nothing else. No alimony, no properties, no continued lifestyle. According to Mom, Vanessa was devastated. She'd moved into a small apartment, far from her usual social circle. Her friends had scattered, fair-weather relationships built on proximity to wealth. She was actually working, as a sales associate at a high-end boutique. I felt no pleasure in her downfall. But I felt no guilt either. This was the consequence of her choices, her cruelty, her refusal to see other people as anything more than props in her personal drama. Oliver, meanwhile, thrived. He joined the robotics club at school and made genuine friends. His therapist reported excellent progress. He smiled more, laughed freely, seemed lighter without Vanessa's shadow looming over family gatherings. In June, exactly 8 months after the yacht incident, my phone rang at midnight. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Arlene. Vanessa's voice sounded strange. Small. Scared. What do you want? I'm in trouble. She paused, and I heard something crack in her voice. Real trouble. I need help. Every instinct screamed at me to hang up. But years of being the responsible sister, the one who fixed things, kept me listening. What kind of trouble? I got into debt. Bad debt. I borrowed money from the wrong people to keep up appearances during the divorce. They're threatening me. I need $50,000 by tomorrow or they'll... Her voice broke completely. $50,000. Pocket change compared to what Leo and I had. But also a fortune to most people. Have you called the police? I can't. These aren't the kind of people you involve police with. Please, Arlene. I'm begging you. I know I've been awful. I know I don't deserve your help. But I'm scared. I sat up in bed. Leo stirred beside me, sensing something wrong. I put the call on speaker so Leo could hear. Tell me exactly what happened. Vanessa's story spilled out in jagged pieces. After Preston kicked her out, she couldn't accept the loss of status. She'd started shopping again, using credit cards she couldn't pay off. When the cards maxed out, she'd borrowed from a man named Vincent Kozlov, someone Preston's crowd had warned her about, a private lender who charged astronomical interest rates and didn't accept excuses. She'd borrowed $30,000 initially. With interest and penalties for late payments, the debt had ballooned to $50,000 in just 4 months. Kozlov's people had visited her apartment today, making threats that were anything but subtle. She had until tomorrow night to pay in full. Why not ask Mom? I said quietly. She doesn't have that kind of money. You know she doesn't. I need you. Vanessa took a shaky breath. I know about your investments. Preston mentioned once that you were smarter with money than you let on. Please, Arlene. I'll pay you back. I promise. I'll do anything. Leo was watching me, his expression carefully neutral. This was my decision. I closed my eyes and saw Oliver's tear-stained face that day on the yacht. I heard Vanessa calling him a pig, saw her pushing him without hesitation. I remembered every cruel comment, every dismissal, every moment she'd made my son feel small and worthless. No, I said. Silence on the other end. Then, in a whisper, "What? I won't give you the money. Arlene, please, you don't understand. These people are dangerous. Then go to the police. File a report. Get protection. They'll kill me." Her voice rose to a shriek. "Is that what you want? Do you want me dead?" Leo reached for my hand. I squeezed it tight, drawing strength. "I want you to face the consequences of your choices. Just like you wanted Oliver to face consequences for accidentally bumping your bag into the water. That's completely different. Is it? You made bad decisions. You borrowed money you couldn't repay. You refused to adjust your lifestyle even when it became impossible to maintain. These are your choices, Vanessa." My voice stayed steady, calm. "Just like pushing my son was your choice. Calling him a pig was your choice. Never apologizing was your choice. So you're just going to let me die?" "No. I'm going to let you save yourself. Go to the police. Tonight. Right now. Tell them everything." Vanessa's breathing was ragged through the speaker. "You're really going to do this? You're going to refuse to help your own sister? You refused to protect my son. You refused to apologize. You refused to even acknowledge you did anything wrong." I felt tears on my cheeks, but my voice didn't waver. "I'm not responsible for fixing your mistakes anymore, Vanessa. I never was. Mom will never forgive you for this. Maybe not. But Oliver will understand. And that matters more." She hung up. The silence in our bedroom felt heavy, dense. Leo pulled me close, and I cried against his shoulder. Not for Vanessa, but for the sister I'd once hoped she could be, and for the finality of this moment. "Did I do the right thing?" I whispered. Leo kissed my forehead. "You protected our family. Yes, you did the right thing." I barely slept that night. By morning, guilt was gnawing at my chest despite knowing I'd made the only choice I could live with. Around 10 a.m., Mom called. "How could you?" she said without preamble. "Vanessa told me you refused to help her. She's in danger, Arlene. She needs to go to the police. You have money. You could save her life." "And what happens next time, Mom?" "And the time after that." Mom's voice turned cold. "I hope you can live with yourself if something happens to her." After she hung up, I sat staring at my phone. Leo brought me coffee and sat beside me. Second thoughts. No. Yes. I don't know. I sipped the coffee, letting the warmth steady me. What if she really is in danger? Then she needs to involve law enforcement. That's what they're for. Leo's voice was gentle but firm. Giving her money won't solve the actual problem. It'll just enable her to keep making the same mistakes. He was right. I knew he was right. But the weight of being the one who said no still felt crushing. That afternoon, I called Patricia Vaughn, our lawyer. Hypothetically, if someone came to you with Vanessa's situation, what would you tell them? Patricia didn't hesitate. Contact the police immediately. These kinds of predatory lenders often have connections to organized crime. Paying them off once doesn't end the relationship. It establishes you as a reliable source of money. They'll come back for more. I thanked her and hung up feeling slightly better. I'd made the right call. Not the easy call, but the right one. 2 days passed with no word from Vanessa. I didn't call her. Mom didn't call me. The silence felt ominous, like waiting for a storm to break. On the third day, Preston called. Arlene, I heard about Vanessa's situation. From her. From mutual acquaintances. She's been calling everyone she knows, trying to raise money. He paused. I wanted you to know I'm not giving her anything either. That surprised me. Why not? 50,000 is nothing to you. Because she needs to learn that actions have consequences. I spent 5 years watching her manipulate everyone around her. I enabled it by providing unlimited money. I'm done enabling. His voice softened. I heard what she did to Oliver. I'm sorry I didn't speak up more forcefully that day. I should have kicked her off my yacht immediately. Thank you for saying that. For what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. This is the only way she'll change, if she has to. After we hung up, I felt lighter. Knowing I wasn't alone in this decision helped more than I'd expected. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. She went to the police. Kozlov arrested. Thank you for not enabling her. Detective Carlos Brennan. I learned the details later from Detective Brennan, who called to update me. Vanessa had finally gone to the police the day after I refused to help. She'd brought documentation, loan papers, threatening text messages, everything. The police had been investigating Kozlov for months, and Vanessa's information gave them what they needed for arrests. Kozlov and 3 associates were charged with racketeering, assault, and usury. Vanessa's debt was voided as proceeds of illegal activity. She'd have to testify at the trial, but she was safe. She saved herself, Detective Brennan said. Took courage. More than most people show in her situation. I thanked him and sat with that information. Vanessa had made the right choice when forced to. She'd taken responsibility, faced a fear, done what needed doing. It wasn't redemption exactly, but it was something. Mom called the next day, her voice tight. I suppose you're happy now. I'm relieved she's safe. She could have died, Arlene. Because you refused to help. She's alive because she helped herself, Mom. That's the point. You're heartless. Just like your father. That stung more than it should have. Dad would have done the same thing. He believed in accountability. Mom hung up without responding. Spring turned to summer. Oliver finished 7th grade with excellent grades and a confidence I hadn't seen before the yacht incident. He was taller now, his face losing its childish roundness. He still saw Dr. Morrison monthly, but mostly they just talked about normal teen stuff. Friends, school, his crush on a girl in robotics club. One evening in July, he asked about Vanessa while we were making dinner. Do you ever miss her, Mom? I thought carefully before answering. I miss who I hoped she could be. But I don't miss how she actually was. Do you think she'll ever apologize? I don't know, honey. People change when they're ready to, not when we want them to. He nodded, stirring pasta sauce. I'm glad you didn't give her money. Dr. Morrison says sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let people face their own consequences. My 13-year-old son had more wisdom than my 58-year-old mother. I hugged him tight. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just couldn't see it past all my adorable cuteness. I laughed until I cried. This kid. This amazing, resilient, wonderful kid. In September, exactly 1 year after the yacht incident, a letter arrived. My name and address were written in handwriting I'd recognize anywhere. Vanessa's careful, precise script. I held it for a long time before opening it. Leo found me in the kitchen, staring at the envelope. You okay? She wrote to me. You don't have to read it. I know. But I opened it anyway. The letter was 2 pages long. It started with the words I'd waited a year to hear. I'm sorry. She wrote about the therapy she'd started after the Kozlov situation resolved. About finally confronting why she needed external validation so desperately. About understanding how her cruelty to Oliver stemmed from her own emptiness. About the shame she carried for years of treating people as accessories to her image. I don't expect forgiveness, she wrote near the end. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know I understand now what you were trying to teach me. Refusing to enable me was an act of love, even though I couldn't see it then. You saved my life by saying no. The letter ended simply. I'm working on becoming someone worthy of your trust. It might take years. But I'm trying. Love, Vanessa. I read the letter 3 times, then showed it to Leo. He read it carefully, then looked at me. What do you want to do? I don't know yet. Over the next week, I thought about it constantly. Oliver's opinion mattered most. When I showed him the letter, he read it slowly, his young face serious. Do you think she means it? He asked. I think she's trying to mean it. That's a start. Are you going to write back? Would you be okay if I did? He thought for a moment. Yeah, but I don't want to see her yet. Maybe someday, but not yet. That's fair. I wrote back 2 weeks later. A short letter, careful and honest. I acknowledged her apology, told her I saw her effort, but explained that rebuilding trust would take time. I mentioned Oliver's feelings, not to punish her, but to be transparent about where we stood. I ended with, I hope you continue this path. Not for me, but for yourself. You deserve to like the person you see in the mirror. I mailed it before I could second-guess myself. Months passed. Vanessa and I exchanged occasional emails, brief, careful updates about our lives. She'd kept her job at the boutique, worked her way up to assistant manager. She'd moved to a nicer apartment through careful budgeting. She was dating someone new, a teacher named Hugh, who she described as kind and patient and nothing like my usual type. Mom thawed slowly. She invited us for Thanksgiving again, promised Vanessa wouldn't attend. We went, cautiously. It was stilted at first, but Mom made an effort to focus on Oliver, to celebrate him instead of critiquing. Small steps. In December, Vanessa asked if she could send Oliver a Christmas gift. I discussed it with him first. He agreed, curious but guarded. The gift arrived, a robotics kit, expensive but thoughtful. The card read, I hear you love building things. I hope you enjoy this. Aunt Vanessa. Oliver spent Christmas Day assembling it with Leo. He didn't mention Vanessa much, but I noticed he kept the card on his desk. By spring, 2 years after the yacht incident, Vanessa had paid off her debts and built a small savings account. She'd completed a year of therapy. She sent photos from her relationship with Hugh. Simple things, coffee dates and walks in the park, no yacht parties or designer clothes. One Saturday in May, my phone rang. Vanessa's name on the screen still made my heart rate spike slightly. Hello. Hi. Her voice sounded nervous. I know this is asking a lot, but would you be willing to meet for coffee? Just the two of us. I hesitated. Leo, reading the Sunday paper nearby, looked up. I mouthed Vanessa, and he nodded, your choice. Let me think about it. Of course. No pressure. I'd like to try. If you're ready. We met 2 weeks later at a quiet cafe downtown. Vanessa arrived first, sitting at a corner table, wearing jeans and a simple sweater. No diamonds. No designer labels. She looked older, softer somehow. More real. We talked for 2 hours. She asked about Oliver, about Leo, about my work. She told me about her therapy insights, about learning to find value in herself beyond external markers. She cried when she talked about that day on the yacht. I see his face in my nightmares, she said quietly. The fear in his eyes. The betrayal. I did that to a child. To your child. Yes, you did. I didn't soften it. That's something you'll carry forever. I know. I'm so sorry, Arlene. The apology felt real this time. Not performative, not self-serving, just painful and honest. We didn't hug when we parted that day. We weren't there yet. But we'd started something, not a return to what we were, but maybe the beginning of something healthier. Driving home, I thought about the journey from that awful day on the yacht to this careful coffee conversation. About saying no when every instinct screamed to say yes. About protecting Oliver even when it meant severing family bonds. I thought about the money sitting in our accounts, $62 million Vanessa still didn't know about. Money that could have easily solved her immediate crisis but wouldn't have addressed the deeper problems. Money that mattered less than teaching my son that love means boundaries, that kindness isn't the same as enabling, that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is refuse. At home, Oliver was in the backyard with Leo, launching rockets he'd built from the robotics kit. I stood at the window watching them, my men, my world. Leo caught my eye and smiled. Oliver's laugh carried on the spring breeze. This was what I'd fought for. Not revenge, not punishment, but this, safety, joy, integrity. A family where cruelty wasn't tolerated, where consequences were real, where love came with standards. Vanessa might earn her way back someday. Or she might not. Either way, I'd made the right choice. Not the easy one, but the right one. And I could live with that.